Hi, this is Dr. George Gauthier, and we want you to feel better and live life better with Dr. George. So, tonight's topic, stress and the negative forms of stress. What is the stress thing anyway? People say, when do you not have stress? And a lot of people answer, well, when you're dead, okay? That does happen. So currently we have 5 times as much stress as we used to have in 1990. And that's a lot. Times have changed quite a bit. There are more choices in life. We have more choices what to do with our time. And that does put pressure on us. Also, in the time since 1990, we've doubled our world population. So we have more people to contend with, more people to deal with, and more stressors. Also, technology. Technology is way up. What happens, for instance, currently, if you leave the room or you leave your house, don't have your cell phone with you. A lot of times in the past, we didn't have to worry about having a cell phone. Now we do. It's a constant reminder that we're connected to a lot more people, and that also ups our stress level quite a bit. So we can talk lots on that too. So this thing called stress, let's talk about it. Well, we need a perception of when we're in danger. So anywhere 10, 30,000 years ago, we didn't have the exact same environment as we have right now. So let's say we could have lived in caves, we were wandering around in the wild. There weren't as many of us to watch each other, so we could run into anything at any time. Where our body had to develop some type of system that allow us, number one, perceive what's going on in our environment, and therefore react to it. That happens in the hypothalamus gland. It kind of checks out what our body's feeling and seeing, and so any type of alerts coming from the brain. It's about a pea-sized gland that's in the center of your brain, and it sends out chemicals and nervous signals to your adrenals. Your adrenals are in your lower back, and they sit on top of your kidneys. So if we perceive something going wrong, something stressful, the hypothalamus sends a nervous signal and or chemicals, hormones, to our adrenal glands on top of our kidneys in our low back, and states, hey, you need to act fast, you gotta act fast now, otherwise you can A, be eaten, in danger, hurt, whatever. So we have this built-in system to our body to react to different forms of stress. So let's go into the negative types of stress, because there's good types of stress too. If you're getting amped up for an upcoming exam or want to be awake because you have to study for it, that's kind of a good type of stress. That's called eustress or EU stress. We also have the opposite form of that, and stress that's bad for the body, that is called distress. That's where the word distress comes from. So of the 3 types of negative stress, the first one I want to talk about is physical stress. So when you injure your body, we have chemicals that get taken off and run into the body, and we know that we hurt ourselves. We have a sensory system that lets us know, hey, we've been hurt. So we'll talk about physical stress, otherwise known as trauma. Trauma is a type of stress. So that could be slips, falls, sports injuries, car accidents, or things that could happen. Fall off your bike, just tons of things can happen to the body. And we have to react to that and be careful of that too. So once you fall down, if you try to get up on a broken bone, your body will let you know right away through pain, okay? So physical types of stress is really, really big. During these falls too, that what you can have, things happen to your bones in your body. When you fall, muscles can tighten, bones can be a problem, joints can be misaligned, and that causes wear and tear. Even so, for instance, what happens when the body is under stress, for instance, your shoulders can go up, okay? So we keep our shoulders around our neck, we protect our neck. It's actually a reflex. We don't even know we're doing it. So it's so hardwired into our body that we can raise our shoulders and keep them up there. And it's like, hey, what's wrong with you? Your shoulders are up around your neck. So you gotta take them down because it's a reflex. So your muscles are involved with your stress mechanisms too. Now, since your muscles pull on bones, and bones make up joints, if your muscles are pulling too hard, or if you're in constant stress, let's face it, it can move bones out of place too. Therefore, the joints in the body can get distorted, and when they get distorted, it's an irritation. So that irritation causes inflammation, and your body has to do something about it. But we can have that irritation for years and years, and that, of course, in the joints develops arthritis. So increased inflammation in the body is a really big problem. So another thing is aging. When we talk about aging, stressors in the body, if you have a lot of stress, let's face it, it's wear and tear on the body, it's wear and tear on your cells. If it's wear and tear on your cells, it's going to be wear and tear on your organs and wear and tear on your whole body in general, so you're going to age faster. So you see one person looking like they're 65, and another person is 65, they're looking like they're 40. So these stressors going on in our life, which are a multitude of, really impact our health immensely. Another type of stress, besides the first physical stress, a negative type of stress we can have, trauma to our body. The second form of stress I want to talk about this evening is environmental stress. We have some issues with that right now, as 8 years in a row, both male and female life expectancies in the United States dropped. That's the first time in history that's ever happened since 1918, during World War I, when a flu ravaged the United States and 625,000 Americans died early. So right now, we're having so much stressors in our life, both male and female life expectancies over the last 8 years have dropped. That is horrible. So obviously, it affects everyone in the country, and something needs to be done about it. So when it comes to environmental stress, what does that mean? Well, first I'd like to talk about is, let's say, the air that we breathe, okay? We take in certain things to our body that affects our body. One of them is the air that we breathe. Another one is the food that we eat. And there are different barriers in the body that help us protect us from things that happen in the environment. So air problems, let's say if you're driving your car and we have carbon monoxide, fumes, things like that nature, or we have factories in the area that might be creating pollution. So you go to Beijing or China and you can't even see a block down the road because the pollution is so thick due to all the coal burning. The amount of particulate matter in our atmosphere has gone up, and therefore pollution has gone up. Pollution is a big thing. Your body has to do something about it. So you take in particulate matter into your lungs, and then you kind of exhale, but they get caught in there. Your body, white blood cells have to go in there, remove that particulate matter, help digest it, get rid of it, and shunt it from the body. So airborne problems are quite prevalent. Another thing besides, cars, pollution, weird things like even the glue in your carpet that they put the carpet in, the substances your mattresses are made out of that you're sleeping on 8 hours a day. These also have these complex chemicals that your body has to detoxify, which also stresses the body out because it has to do something about it. So if you have a stress, let's face it, you have to do something about it. Number two, let's talk about chemical stressors in the environment. This is a big thing. I think this impacts Americans' lives more than anything else of what we have going on. So the chemicals that we get exposed to, anything from the cleansers, the pesticides on our foods, how foods are grown, and the quality of them when it comes to chemical and food problems is a huge impact on how we react to our body and our environment. Lotions, plastics, and deodorants too, that we just casually use these things all day. What we cook our food on. We cook on, let's say, aluminum pots and things. So the aluminum gets in our food. We take that in as a toxin, and that's a stress to the body. It's environmental stress, and your body has to do something with it. It's got to detoxify it in the liver, then goes to the kidney, then out of the body. Things that people also need to know is, when it comes to your skin, when we put deodorant on, when we put suntan lotion on, we put perfume on and things like that, all these things are toxins and stress out the body. Do I suggest we use them? It's okay, but not in a lot of abundance, because your body is going to have to do something with it. So lotions that you put on, plastics that we consume our food in, that sometimes we want them to be BPA, okay? So we want to make sure there's no chemicals in the plastic that we accidentally ingest because the food was touching it. So you want to have BPA-free plastic when you're drinking your water, which most companies are doing now anyway, but not all of them. So therefore, we'd like you to check that out too. Deodorants, when it comes to the amount of Alzheimer's going out there, it's high in aluminum. And so anything we put in our skin, our skin's like a sponge. It has a tendency to go right through, okay? So when you put a deodorant on, mainly an antiperspirant, deodorants aren't quite as bad, but if you put an antiperspirant on, it has trichloroaluminum in it, which means, or quadruple chloroaluminum. So it means when you put it on underneath your arm, and it's on there all day, your body absorbs it. And unfortunately, the brain loves aluminum. It being a very positively charged molecule, it gets stored in the brain, and they're finding right now incidences of high quantities of aluminum in people's brain, which could also be from the food you're cooking on, the aluminum pots and pans you use. So I suggest use stainless steel, use cast iron. I suggest using a deodorant or some of the salts out there that you can buy at most of the holistic stores that you can use for when it comes to deodorants so you don't perspire. So when it comes to environmental causes in the body, one of the big things is the foods that we eat is very detrimental. Buy organic, it's great for you. As an aside from organic, a lot of people don't know this. So we're going to talk about that real quick. All organic foods have to be marked where they come from. So for instance, let's say grapes aren't popular in the country right now, and we have to get them outside the country. So they're grown outside the country, organic, everything's going great, good soil, good sunlight. And they take the grapes down, and they put them in packaging, and then they come to the United States border. Guess what happens at that point? There could be insects on it, there could be fungicides on it, bacteria on it. So as it gets to the border, they spray all the organic food. I would say only about 1 out of 1,000 people knows this. And if you go to the person that's in part of your produce at your nice organic grocers, they probably don't know it either. So therefore, by law, it says in the packaging where that organic food came from, all right? So I do want you to check it. We want it to be grown in the United States. That way it's not sprayed when it comes to the border. So it is in kind of micro print, so you have to look for it. They don't really want you to know about it. So I'm letting you know this is something that just tonight's very, very worthwhile knowing. Just being here and getting this advice here, make sure you buy organic that's from the United States or from like a local grower, like a French market or country market that's near to you. So it really helps you out. Another type of negative stress, is the 3 types of negative stress, is emotional stress. That could be anything from how we relate to people to relational stresses. So that could be spouse, significant other, friends, family, pets even, coworkers, okay? So as we interact with people, let's face it, we can have a lot of stress of how people interact with us too. And we have to deal with our subconscious and even our conscious mind also. So I suggest hanging out with some pretty happy people is a pretty good idea, and watch out who you hang out with. And we don't want people to be negative around us. We have to deal with people, let's face it. So at work, almost anything can go wrong at work. And you have your boss you have to contend with. Sometimes you're the boss and you got to contend with other people also too. But and your clientele. So everyone that you're in contact with can cause you this relationship or emotional stress from that. We have things happen to us every day. So for instance, I just had a patient today in which their dog passed away, and they were very, very sad about that. I would be too. When my dog passed, I was sad about that also. But these stressors all add up. So you have physical trauma stress. You have environmental stress. What are we doing to our bodies? Even exercise. Comment, it's like, Doc, I do this type of exercise. I run a lot. My knees are killing me, okay? That's a stressor in the body, the jarring of the running. So some types of exercise, even though exercise is a great way to blow off stress, one of the best ways, okay, is by exercising. So here you're running, you think you're doing your body good, yet you're blowing out your knees, blowing out your ankles, hurting your feet, and sometimes even hurting your hip, low back. So I think it's kind of important what type of exercise we do to cut down the stressors in our body, the alignment of our bones, the wear and tear on the joints, because we don't want to get old too fast, correct? So when it comes to other relationship stressors in general, work, travel, people, it depends on what's happening in your life. We find that people have more of a calm environment, that live out in the countryside, have less contact with people and better foods, are the ones that are living currently to be 90 and 100 years old. So it's kind of interesting that they're eating better foods for them. They have great contact and good relationship, good friends and good neighbors, but maybe not so many of them. So the hassles of everyday life when it comes to stress isn't as great on them. So if you have any questions on stress, we've been more than happy to answer them at this point, but I want to make sure also that you subscribe and keep informed of our time and topics. So next week, we're going to do something kind of special, as we're going to ask you folks out there as to what you want me to talk about when it comes to stressors. So you can catch us every Wednesday, 7 p.m. Central Standard Time at twitch.tv/Dr. Broadcasting. So we're going to open up the questions at this point, and I can't wait to hear what you have to say.
We'll do some Q&A with Dr. G. We've already got some great ones in, Dr. G. First one, how to relieve stress? What are some of the quickest ways that if we do feel too stressful, how do we relieve some of that quickly?
An absolutely fantastic question. So number one, if it's just like an instantaneous thing, let's say you're in traffic, okay, and you're just fed up, you got to get to work, traffic's up. So you're here sitting in your car, you're getting all stressed out. Number one, you're aware of it. So first of all is the awareness of you being stressed. That's highly important. Your body physiology reacts to it, we get all tight, heart rate goes up, and you feel not good, okay? So what you do is at this point, I'd have you be aware, take a nice deep breath in through your nose. Fill up your lungs really good. Hang on to that for about 5 seconds, then let everything out through your mouth. like so. You can do that more than once. Even doing it once reduces your blood pressure a great amount and also has you feel better. You're oxygenating all your cells, making your body feel good, because right now your muscles are nice and contracted being under stress, okay? So a nice deep breath in, you can do that more than once. Be aware that you're stressful. Make sure your shoulders are lowered. That's number one. So another quick answer to that is, so let's say you have long-term stress or chronic stress. I love exercise as a form of getting rid of stress. I like yoga, getting rid of stress also. Although sometimes we can't, jump into our yoga clothes when we're under a stressful situation. Be mindful. You do have control of your body, okay? So therefore, that deep breath really, really works great. Blow off that carbon dioxide, blow off that tension.
Dr. George, probably turn my microphone on too, right? Dr. George, Mark asked, is sex a really good way to relieve stress? I keep telling my wife it is, but she doesn't believe me.
I would say it's a really, really great way of getting rid of stress. And I have to comment, the quality of sex is important too, okay? So it's got to be it too. So it's a very good way because it activates endorphins and enkephalins in the body. They're fantastic for the brain, okay? So they make you feel good. So you have some stuff going on, and women, you have oxytocin going on with them. So the feeling of being in love is fantastic for being anti-stress. So sex is a really good way, and it can be quite a workout too.
Absolutely, that heart, right? Just like you were saying. So I've got another question from, let me look real fast, from Jamie. Jamie asked, is there any good types of deodorant? You talked about some of the bad things that may be in deodorant. Are there any good types that you recommend?
Also an excellent question. There are some concentrated salts that are you can find, so concentrated salts with water. Also, there's some salts out there that you can just kind of wet beneath the sink, and they're very, very strong salts, and you can actually wipe them on the underside of your arms, so it causes the pores in your underarms to contract a little bit, and if you do start sweating, the salt actually absorbs some of the moisture, okay? So it works more of an antiperspirant as deodorant. So if you have, and people have to know about this too, if you say you have excessive body odor when you sweat, that means you don't have enough water intake for your diet. So how much water should you get? About half your body weight in ounces per day. So however much you weigh, we want that in water. That's not coffee, that's not lemonade, that's not soda, that is water. Lemon in there, that's great for you too. So if you think that if you're perspiring, it's great having those salts that you can put underneath your arm. You can get any holistic grocer, they have them. A lot of people use them. They're very popular, and they're much better for you than contaminating your brain with complex issues and giving it problems.
Dr. George, you did get into this a little bit. Dr. George, you did get into this a little bit, but what are the best and worst foods for stress?
Wow, best and worst foods. Well, I'll have you stay away from caffeine, number one. I know that's going to crush a lot of people out there, but caffeine energizes your nervous system. And they're going to find out, they're doing studies on it right now, that how doctors and people went after the cigarette companies, let's say back in the 70s and 80s, and they found out how horrible it was. Well, right now, neurologists and functional medicine doctors like myself are really finding how horrible caffeine is for your central nervous system. So I wouldn't be surprised in about 3 to 5 years, a lot of these reports are going to come out, and just like there was a jihad on nicotine, there's probably be another jihad on caffeinated beverages. So that's one food to stay away from. Anything there's some fruits and vegetables out there too that are great for stress. Number one, we want nice calming things. Avocado is great for calming stress. Teas, there are many, many teas out there. There are some teas with caffeine in it, stay away from. Grab the teas, okay? So, and also hydrating your body is so important when decreasing stress. We go through so much water when we're stressed out versus not. So when it comes to water in your diet, another thing you can take in to decrease stress, a great food for you. Comfort foods seem to help people too. So when you have your nice Thanksgiving meal and you get kind of drowsy afterwards, so foods high in tryptophan is great for you. So that'd be things along the lines of turkey, okay? So turkey's high in tryptophan, and foods high in melatonin too. So there's some things out there too that can help you with that.
We've got another question in that same category of foods. Does wine really relax a person and relieve stress?
That's a really good question also, excellent question. Any type of alcohol, doesn't have to be wine, but any type of alcohol, alcohol is a depressant for the whole central nervous system. So therefore, after a hard day at work, I do recommend wine versus some other things because wine has a whole bunch of great nutrients to it. So it has some antioxidants in there, has some, just a whole bunch of wonderful things inside the wine. And the alcohol does calm you down. How much recommendation? 1 or 2 glasses, nothing more than that. Don't want to do the whole bottle, okay? So 1 or 2 glasses, I can recommend. I like reds better than whites because they contain more of the antioxidants that our body needs, okay? So white's not necessarily bad, both contain alcohol. Some guys might prefer to grab a beer. That could work out too.
Dr. George, I've got another question here from Ricky. Ricky asks, are there any safe organic medicines for stress relief?
Safe organic medicines. So I'd be careful the word medicine. I'll say, let's call that supplements. I do like taking melatonin, okay, and there's tryptophan out there in the market too. Both are safe. I'd have you try out what works best for you. When people are under a lot of stress, they're not getting the sleep that they need. The cortisol that your kidneys put out keep you up. It's your alarm clock for your body. What helps us get through our day is our cortisol levels when it comes to our kidneys. If our adrenals are fried and we don't have adrenaline helping us out, which is a quick boost of energy, cortisol is the marathon runner. So cortisol, to help promote that, is good for you. It keeps you awake throughout the day. So when it comes to that question again, so I can answer more precisely.
Are there any safe organic medicines?
Okay. Yeah, like I say, when it comes, I'd use it, like I say, a supplement. I like melatonin and I like tryptophan. Melatonin, I like 3 milligrams to 6 milligrams, depending on the size of the person. Once again, I can't tout on this show when it comes to medication or nutrition. So once again, as a doctor, I can comment. Everybody's different out there, so to be safe, want to make sure it's safe for you. I'd start out with a lower dose, nor can I say, hey, this really works for you, but it works for most people and generally, and is renowned for doing that. Other things besides nutrition, I mentioned herbal teas are great. Chamomile is fantastic when it comes to de-stressing you. So when it comes to your nutritional, I'd go with tryptophan, I'd go with serotonin. And melatonin.
That's wonderful, Doc. Lady MacGyver asks your opinion on taking apple cider vinegar every day or possibly a morning lemon water in that same vein.
Absolutely love it. Lemon water is fantastic for the body, and we'll get an explanation of that. Also, when it comes to apple cider vinegar, also sensational for the body. We can talk about that too. The American diet is very, very acidic. And people go like, well, if I'm taking citric acid, doc, that's more acid adding to the body. Well, it depends on how your body utilizes what you take into it. So when it comes to citric acid, instead of apple cider vinegar also, the body uses that and burns it. So when it burns, for instance, if we burn apple cider vinegar, burn the apple, the ash of the apple that we burn is basic. Same thing with the lemon and the orange. When you burn that fruit, it actually is not acidic for the body, it is actually basic. So increasing anything basic for the body is great for you. So lemon water I drink all the time, okay? I think it's fantastic, it's good for you. And I also think apple cider vinegar is good for you too. Now I've had some people that were doing it for years, and I have to caution you on this too when it comes to lemon water and apple cider vinegar. We do want to make sure you rinse your teeth with water afterwards because some of the residual acid in the mouth, as in before it goes to turn to basic in your body, can cause some gum problems. So just want to make sure everyone's aware of that out there. So make sure after drinking that, do have some normal water you can swish around in your mouth real good so we get rid of the acidic content that happens in your mouth, even though your body digests it as a base.
Doc, I'm going to combine 2 questions here from Bigglesworth and Tomb. Essentially, does a pet really help with stress, and should I just get rid of the people that are causing me stress? So essentially, do I get rid of all the friends that are causing me stress and go out and buy a cat?
Wow, that can be a brutal question. I think animals, when it comes to de-stressing people, they're absolutely fantastic. Now, I just got a 16-week Samoan at home, nice doggy, beautiful doggy, wonderful doggy, but here's the thing. It's like having a 3-year-old around, okay? So when they're puppy stage, when they're peeing on the floor, when they're pooping and stuff, early on, even pets, let's face it, can be a stressor. Or you get out of town, and all of a sudden you're worrying about them, okay? It's like someone else is taking care of your pet out of town. So I wouldn't say it's a double-edged sword. I think pets, when it comes to stress, are absolutely phenomenal. I'm a big proponent of that. PTSD dogs out there, kitties, people going on airplanes with de-stressing animals and things. I think they're fantastic. That's question number one. Okay, so I'm pro-animal. Just be aware that animals are a responsibility. There's sometimes vet costs involved, so you kind of be aware of what you're getting into before you get into it. But I'm a huge proponent of having kitties, doggies, and any type of pet that calms you down. Second part?
Well, before you talk about the friends,
Okay.
there's a follow-up question from that.
Sure.
Are service animals really trained to help people with stress issues?
I think service animals are really, really well-behaved pets. They follow orders very, very well. I think just having a pet around can decrease your stress. So service animals are very well behaved if they're your service animal, and they're there to actually help people if you have a very bad medical problem. Let's say if you're prone to seizures or things along that nature, that's what the service animal is for. So I would not necessarily count on a service animal to be de-stressing, but I would state that having an animal around you, I think does lower your blood pressure and make you feel great.
Okay, and it looks like the last one for today, we'll go back to people. Should I cut people out of my life and just be friends with Dr. George?
I think just be friends with Dr. George. I'd go along with that one because I'm a very friendly person, very open person. So, all right, this is a question. We need to talk about this. I think that most of the people that take care of people, they do ask you to be careful of at least the amount of time that you might spend with negative people. And you do want good people to be around you. So a lot of people state that, look at your friends, I'll look at your future. So do you really want to surround yourself with negative influences or people put you down? Or you want to have good times. That's what you're here for. Your life is supposed to be lived in a very, very good manner. And if you have less stress, guess what? You're going to be living longer. So when it comes to even some of the millionaires and billionaires I treat, you're thinking, oh, they don't have any stressors and things like that. Well, they do. They sometimes worry about their money. But I notice they do know and they do surround themselves with good people that they support them, and it's vice versa. So having great people around you, I think, is highly, highly important. Will have you live longer also. So I think that answers that question pretty well. So how to get rid of them? However you want to. That's up to you. So.
I think that was it, Dr. George, but I'm sorry. What is next week's show about? Could it be on something to do with thyroid issues? I have lots of problems.
Okay, what we're doing is, for everyone out there, we want you to get in touch with us at the Twitch TV Doctor Broadcasting. What we're doing is we're kind of taking a vote about what everybody wants to hear about. Okay, so what we'll do is it could be a little surprise next week as to what we're talking about, so keep tuned, keep notified. Once again, if you have an Amazon Prime membership, a free subscription, lets you know a little bit early about what we're up to, so that helps out too, and also bumps you to the top of the class. So I recommend do subscribe to Amazon Prime. Also, when it comes next week, we're just going to find out what people want to hear about. We're going with the mob rules, okay? So we'll see what the majority wants. We will definitely be talking about thyroid and thyroid problems, hormones and hormone problems. Me being a functional endocrinologist would love to. So that will occur, so keep an eye out for it, okay? Hey, so everybody out there, we want you to live life and feel better with Dr. George. Have a great evening.